There really are no words to express how extraordinary that was. And I hope Rachel can hear us, but Rachel Warby and the Women of Musique need another round of applause. Extraordinary. And I would like to ask now the Women of Courage to please come up on stage. While the Women of Courage are coming up on stage, please come. I would imagine that there are few women in leadership positions around the world who are involved in gender issues that are not familiar with the work of Ambassador Milan Vivir. As Ambassador at Large for Global Women's Issues and the Director of the Department of State's Office on Global Women's Issues, she literally covers the world, advocating the political, economic, and social advancement and empowerment of women. She maintains a truly amazing pace, which her staff can certainly vouch for, and is an example of energy and devotion to a cause that is a model for us all. Prior to her State Department experience, Ambassador Vivir was the chair and co-CEO of Vital Voices Global Partnership. And prior to that, she served as the Chief of Staff to the First Lady in the Clinton administration. Please join me in welcoming Ambassador Milan Vivir, who will introduce our guests of honor, the 2012 International Women of Courage.
Well, thank you so much, Leslie, who herself has done so much for so many and is presently very involved in helping to establish the Women's Entrepreneurship Center at the American University of Afghanistan. So thank you, Leslie, for that. And I just want to join with everybody here in thanking Musique. I was thinking we all needed to have our spirits soar tonight, and I imagine these women who have traveled so far, we're so grateful for that wonderful medley that I know was done in honor of them and spoke volumes about the power of music. And I can't thank the American women for international understanding enough. We truly look forward to this every year. We know that when we're getting ready for the International Women of Courage, we're also going to get ready to be with all of you again. And this evening always means so much to our honorees. And I just want you to know that it stays with them and to be received as they are tonight on the first evening of their arrival in Washington, D.C., I think is indeed very special. And I want to thank Jane and Diane and everybody associated with AWIU. And also to recognize the others who were recognized tonight, to the Friends of AU of Afghanistan, which does so much and is making higher quality education possible, as well as Sister to Sister, and to the two Congresswomen. I know that Kathy McMorris Rogers had to leave because she's got a very young child, and we're glad that Congresswoman Donna Edwards could still stay. But I can testify to the work that the two of them do and all the women and other members of Congress whom they've recruited to be a part of this task force. When times are tough in Afghanistan, as they more often than not are, and one of our honorees tonight is from Kandahar, a really tough place. McMorris Rogers and Donna Edwards are always there doing extraordinary work on behalf of the women, and truly understand that the Afghan women and standing up for them and supporting them is really not a favor to them so much, as it's really an understanding that if there's going to be any potential for peace, that potential will not be realized, it will not be sustained, and stability will not be possible if the women are silenced and or marginalized. They are a critical part of Afghanistan's future, viable future. So thank you, Donna, and please tell Kathy our thanks again. So here we are with a group of women of courage, a great group of women of international understanding, all kinds of great women for sure tonight around this room, and the good men. And I want to thank the sponsors, I had the privilege of being next to one of the officers of Deloitte, and I want to thank them in particular because of the work that they have been doing to advance what women represent to economic progress. But I think that AWIU's mission of expanding, understanding, and dialogue is certainly a noble one. And I have no doubt that it is the one-to-one relationships that you nurture, the sort of work that you foster, that is one of the most effective forms of diplomacy. And I know that Secretary Clinton feels very strongly that 21st century diplomacy in large measure has to be people-to-people diplomacy. And that is something that you all do exceptionally well. Because we have growing mountains of data and evidence and research about the essential role of women in peacekeeping and in economic growth and in so many other arenas. But it is the kinds of stories that you hold, you experience when you travel, the relationships and exchanges that you participate in, the kind of work you do in welcoming women like these tonight, that really does change minds and hearts. And I can think of no better way to mark International Women's Day that falls on Thursday of this week, or to celebrate Women's History Month, than for all of us to come together with these very extraordinary women who are here with us. They've just been in Pittsburgh for a couple of days, experiencing some American hospitality. They will go on to several other cities when they leave us in Washington. On Thursday, a small audience of about 1,000 people will gather at the State Department for our version of the International Diplomatic Academy Awards as they receive their award. They're all nominees of our embassies from around the world. They have come through a very competitive process. It was very hard to select 10 out of the hundreds and hundreds of nominations of women who are doing courageous work around the world. But you will see that these women truly do exemplify the range of work that goes on that makes our world a better place. So on Thursday, they will be acknowledged. First Lady Michelle Obama will be in attendance, and we will also have two of the this year's Nobel Peace Laureates, Lema Gabawi and Carmen from Yemen, one from Liberia and one from Yemen, who exemplify the role that women need to be playing in issues relating to peace and security. These women have taken their place alongside of the women who made Tahrir Square a peaceful revolution, who occupied the streets of Tunisia, who participated in the uprising in Libya, and one of the Libyan women is here with us tonight. They are the faces of change. and along with their Nobel sisters, I think say loudly and strongly this past year, women have made an exceptional difference. They have endured kidnapping and beatings, intimidation and prison. They have endured the silence and that uncertainty of speaking out, when speaking out may not be popular and it may even be dangerous. When they have chosen to stay silent, to stay in the shadows where a lot of women are expected to stay, they refuse to do so. They, all of these women, have made contributions, like so many around the world, that are still undervalued and yet are extraordinarily important for the kind of world we want to see. So let me now introduce them to you. Our first honoree is from Afghanistan, Miriam Durrani. Miriam, why don't you stand up? And she is exceptional in so many ways. She ran for and was elected to a seat on the provincial council in Kandahar. And anybody who reads the newspapers knows that that's not a particularly peaceful place. She has continues to direct an NGO that works with women and does some incredible work to support and promote women in the region. And she is the owner of a local radio station that, as she said, is working to promote the kind of awareness that will bring about the change that makes a difference. She continues to face regular threats, but she is undeterred in her mission to promote basic civil rights of all Afghans. So, Miriam Durrani. Major Priscila de Oliveira Azevedo is from Brazil. And she may not look it, but she is a major in the military police. She has done some of the toughest work of cleaning out the slums dominated by criminal drug traffickers. She is part of a police pacification unit that has played an incredible leadership role in the favelas, which are some of the biggest slum areas in Brazil. In 2007, she demonstrated extraordinary courage and commitment to her duties by successfully arresting a gang of criminals who had kidnapped her. She has shut down drug operations. She has established conflict mediation models. She has worked within state and local governments, and she has brought extraordinary improvements to some of the most marginalized places where people live. She is changing lives every day, and she is making her country a safer place. So, Major Azevedo. And I want to say that over the years, there have been one or two women who were not allowed to leave their country by their governments. This is the first year all of them have come. And this one is particularly a sign of hopeful days to come, because Zin Marong is from Burma, or Myanmar. She has spent 11 of her young years in prison and was released last year. She went on with her education after that and has created several NGOs. As she said to me tonight, one of them was to counter the argument that democracy is not suitable for Asians. So she is a strong promoter of democracy in Burma. She is a strong promoter of the role for women in politics, and she has helped fund institutions, educational institutions, to teach political science, because she believes it's important to have the fundamental principles as well. And additionally, she is working with the young people to get them ready for the next tranche of elections in 2015 through a group called the Rainfall Group. So for her, it is to pay attention and engage in the peace process, in the role of women, and the future of young people, all for a better Burma that she envisions in all that she does. Thank you. From Colombia, Janeth Bedoya Lima. She is a journalist. She is one tough investigative journalist. And as part of doing her job, she has experienced torture, kidnapping, and extraordinary sexual abuse. But she says that every day she continues to use her voice and her pen for so many who, like her, have gone through comparable experiences. She said as she thinks about her pain and her wounds still, they enable her to remember her commitment to the women in Colombia. She is an extraordinary journalist, and she is an extraordinary committed citizen, and we are pleased that she too is a woman of courage. Janeth Lima from Colombia. Hana El-Hebshi is from Libya. She said, like I've heard from other women of Libya, I was never interested in politics. But with the uprising, she felt that she was called to care about the future of her country. She became a political activist on behalf of others. She is a symbol of solidarity and a model of courage, and a symbol of great hope for her people. She served as an activist throughout the uprising in trying to bring an end to the regime that had hurt so many for so long. And she takes her place among so many women of Libya now who want to build a better Libya and a stronger and more prosperous future. Anisa Ahmed is from the Maldives, and she will speak on behalf of all the women after they're introduced tonight. She is an extraordinary activist. She served many, many years in government, but felt that she wasn't free to do the kinds of things that she saw needed to be done. Women couldn't pass citizenship on to their children as the men in the families could. There was a time when they couldn't be judges. They couldn't be the chiefs, the governors of the islands. And she felt that this was discriminatory, as it clearly was, and she wanted to do something about it. So after years of government, she moved on to the NGO world, started an NGO, Hope for Women, and from that perch took on a series of issues, has been responsible with so many others for incredible change in the islands, and particularly work on violence against women, which, as she said, was not really something anybody wanted to recognize as an important problem that touched so many in a terrible way. And it was with great persistence, great effort, that she became such a powerful advocate for a better life for the women of the Maldives. So, Anisa Ahmed. From Pakistan, Shad Begum. Not that the others are slouches, but this is one courageous human rights activist from one of the toughest parts of Pakistan. She works in the remote and rural tribal areas. She has created a very active NGO, the Union of Women's Welfare, that was the first registered NGO in this region. She has been responsible for helping women gain the confidence to run for office, to win office, to do the kinds of things they were repeatedly told they had no place to do and no place to participate in those kinds of ways, either by voting or for running and standing for office. She has made and continues to make a real difference to bring a better life under the most adverse conditions, particularly to women and their families in this region. And because of that, she is under direct threats to her life, her family's life, including recent calls for suicide attacks against her by the local extremists. So we all owe her a debt of gratitude for her courageous stance. Shad Begum. And from Saudi Arabia, Sumer Badawi. Sumer is still quite young, as you can see, but she has done some really gutsy things. She challenged the guardianship rule in court that women have to have a male guardian, usually a family member, and she was imprisoned by the judge and only released after a royal decree came down releasing her from prison. So as though that wasn't enough for her to challenge that rule, she went on to bring a case for the right of women to vote and run for municipal elections. And that is an ongoing effort that has resulted in the promise that women indeed will be able to stand for municipal elections in the future. But that wasn't enough. So she has now begun a challenge so that women can drive in Saudi Arabia. And she tells me that maybe it will be possible by the time that she gets home, and she's not planning to stay here forever, that women will indeed be driving. So we wish her and the women of Saudi Arabia well in embracing better days in terms of these kinds of issues. And we thank Sumer Badawi for being a true profile in courage. And lastly, from Sudan, Hawa Abdallah Mohammed Salih. She too said that she didn't ever plan to be an activist. But when her village was set ablaze, completely destroyed, she and her family became internally displaced people, forced into life in camps. She knew that she was called to immerse herself to what would become a deeply held commitment to human rights for her people. So after graduating from university, she's worked on a range of human rights, rule of law, and governance issues, and worked with many an NGO every day trying to bring better times to the good men and women of her country. She has been kidnapped. She has experienced all kinds of threats against her life, but somehow she finds the inner strength to go on because her cause is one that she could never leave behind. So from Sudan, Hawa Abdullah Moham Salawi. Our 10th honoree just arrived tonight from Turkey. She is a woman who has done what is extremely challenging in many countries, and that is to work for the rights of people with disabilities. She herself is a woman with a disability who's managed to become elected to the Parliament of Turkey. She will be with us for the succeeding day's activities, but because she just arrived in the United States tonight, she's getting some justifiable sleep. So I will vacate this microphone and call up our honoree from Maldives to say a few words on behalf of all the women. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a bit nervous in speaking in English because English is not my native language. And after all the great speakers, I feel a bit inadequate. Please bear with me. I'm being given this difficult task of saying a few words on behalf of all the Women of Courage nominees to thank all of you. I don't know how to thank you, first of all. We are all very overwhelmed with this gathering here and the warm welcome and the hospitality that we've been given. From the time we arrived in the United States, we went to Pittsburgh first. The weather was very cold. It even started snowing for us. But the warmth of the welcome that we received is unbelievable. And to use an American word, I'm told, it was awesome. Thank you all very much. American Women for International Understanding. I must say, AWIU really stands up to your name, because the women here representing many countries, not really representing many countries perhaps, but the women who've been nominated as Women of Courage, we feel you have acknowledged us. You have recognized the work that we have done, while seemingly our own countries have not acknowledged or recognized our work. That's why I say American Women for International Understanding actually live up to your name. Thank you very much. Like I said before, I'm overwhelmed. I just don't know much to say, actually, to thank you all. But I would like to also thank Rachel for the lovely music that she shared with us. It was wonderful. And I have to agree with the two congresswomen who were here before that no matter what differences of political opinion we have, when it comes to the cause of women, we leave all that aside and we work towards that one particular goal. I strongly agree with you. I believe no bird can fly with just one wing. Therefore, no nation can actually reach its full developmental potential unless both men and women work together as partners. That is why we need women around. That is why we need women's work to be recognized. I know women do a lot of work, but their work, their domestic responsibilities and all the domestic work that they do in rearing the children, in looking after the house is not accounted for in our GDPs, which is wrong. It has to be corrected. A little bit about the work that I do and I did. I believe, like I said, I believe in equality between the sexes. In our country, like in most countries, or like in all the countries, I would say, women are seen very little, I mean in public. Women in public office are minimal. And I believe that that's one area that we have to work strongly in our country, in the Maldives, in my country. Therefore, I am working, or I have even tried a nationwide campaign in sensitizing women and men to this issue to bring in more women into particularly elected office. I worked on this when I was in the government, also when I was in the parliament. And when I decided to retire, take an early retirement in 2009, two of my friends and I formed this organization called Hope for Women. Our main objective is to end violence against women in the country, violence against women and girls. But our broader objective is empowering women, particularly empowering women in politics. And after I started working in the civil society from the other side, like when I was in the public office, it was different. But when I started working in civil society, I found there are major obstacles to our work. And in the Maldives, there is an emerging problem which is very, very critical to us, because Maldives has been an Islamic country for over 8 centuries, but we have had, like, there were no discrimination between men and women on the ground of, religion. Like, we were never asked to remain at home just because we were women. But there is this emerging problem now. People who have been studying, men who have been studying overseas in the Islamic faculties, they come back and they have started preaching a totally different Islam, different from what we knew in the country. Now we are finding that there are families where little girls are not sent to school because they don't think the girls need education, because they have to simply stay home, get married, and start rearing a family. That's basically their responsibility. And also we've got another problem emerging. What I'm saying about girls not being sent to school and the other area I'm coming into, there is no empirical evidence because there have not been any studies done. These are very recent phenomena. Female circumcision. Our organization, it has come to our attention that there are little girls, newborn girls, being circumcised. And I raised this issue in public. I went to the media also, but I brought it to the attention of the government authorities concerned first, to say, if it is happening, there was an advocacy program on our national radio by an Islamic scholar on this issue, saying women have to be circumcised in Islam. Like I said, we've been an Islamic country for so many centuries, but women were not circumcised. Girls were not circumcised before, but now it's being introduced. So my argument is, if it has to be done, it has to be regulated, because boys are circumcised, but boys have to be circumcised by people who are certified to do that. And it's not done in the secret. But girls are circumcised, I believe, in secret, and it is not done by certified people. So these are areas of concern emerging now. So our organization is trying to challenge these issues and address them, hopefully. I would not like to take more of your time, because we've been here for a long period of time. And we also kept you waiting because we took long in coming here. You've been waiting for us, so sorry for that. I apologize on behalf of all of the Women of Courage. And once again, before I end, thank you all very much on behalf of all my colleagues here. And we are really overwhelmed with your hospitality. Thank you.
please stay on stage, and you may stay seated. And you are all awesome. Extraordinary. We have one more very big surprise for you, a very special treat. Tim Acito has composed for you a very special piece of music in your honor. He is a writer and composer whose work has been performed all over the world. Recent projects include a composition of a musical in soul that won all kinds of theatrical awards. We are thrilled to have him here, and he has an honor for all of you. Our vocalist this evening is Lori Wells. Lori is a native of Los Angeles, has performed in numerous New York performances, including Our Sinatra, My Fair Lady, Grease, Oliver, and Mamma Mia. So in your honor, ladies, Tim Acito and Lori Wells present What You Take Away.
And you were worth the wait. Here's what Michelangelo said: you never carve a piece of sculpture into the rock. Instead, you take away the rock that is not sculpture. And so with you, my friends, when I see you fight each day for what is true, you take away what holds me back so I can rise like you. What you take away is any doubt I have inside. What you take away is any fear that I'll fail. What you take away is the thought of giving up or giving in. And you leave me with the strength to go and change this world we're living in. Here's what they will try to take. They will try to take away your dignity. And they will try to take away your determination. And they will try to take away your hope of a brand new day. But they never will, because of what I'll take away. What I'll take away is any doubt you have inside. What I'll take away is any fear that you'll fail. What I'll take away is the thought of giving up or giving in. And I promise that together we can change this world we're living in. This world we're living in. Here's what we can take away. We can take away what keeps us all apart, so we can all emerge one day, each our own piece of art. Yes, we each deserve the chance to be our own piece of art. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Let's see, Mary. Are you headed this way? Bob. There you go, one more. There you go.
Made it.
Yeah, Bill, would you stand there so we don't have... Do you suppose that on March 19th, every 97 years, another Mary Ripley will be born? I certainly hope so. Mary was a friend of AWIU founder Bernice Behrens and has been a member of AWIU since its founding. As early as 1968, Mary was an ambassador of international understanding. That was the year that Mary sponsored Helen Petrova from Leningrad to the United States. On AWIU delegations, Mary has met Anwar Sadat, Mrs. Mubarak, Vanetta Tarasakova, Abba Eban, and Gandhi. I feel quite certain each of these leaders was richer for having met our California ambassador, Mary Ripley. Mary has participated in numerous delegations. On one, she carried a warm greeting from Abba Eban to the women of Palestine. I suppose it is this pioneering spirit, coupled with her notion that age is a gift, that presented a more recent opportunity for Mary around her 90th birthday. Mary was presented with leather boots, a leather jacket, and a helmet. This woman, who has camped with travelers, including a sheik in the desert, climbed onto a Harley Davidson for a celebratory birthday ride. And not on the back roads. Not on the back roads either. Her vision was to travel in the fast lanes. Which leads to my concluding comments. Not so long ago, 5 or 6 years, Mary was driving to her vacation home when she was pulled over by a California highway patrol officer. Yes, a chip. Mary asked if the officer was going to give her a ticket, making the case that she was just going with the flow of traffic. The officer listened and replied, "Ma'am, you were leading the flow." He asked for her license, walked to his car, and returned with a ticket. Mrs. Ripley, I would like to inform you, for the record, that you were going 5 miles over your age. That's our Mary. I can't wait to send her to Saudi Arabia. Professional volunteer, ambassador to countries around the globe, visionary and founder of nonprofit organizations, mentor to the young, fast, and a true pioneer. It is my great pleasure to award Mary Ripley the Bernice Behrens Founders Award and to introduce Mary to you this evening.
Well, that's quite a reputation I've already built for myself. Thank you very much. I am really very humbled to share the platform with these incredible, courageous women. Each one of them has, in her own way, made a statement. Each one of you have given us hope. You have done a tremendous job of building peace in the world, and we are deeply grateful for all that you offer to us. You offer us a real challenge. Tonight, though, I would like to accept this wonderful award from AWIU, the American Women for International Understanding, in the name of all the women around the world who have opened their homes and shared their dreams with our delegations as they have gone to each of these countries. We are proud to have had their friendship and their hope and their participation. But I would especially like to honor tonight a friend of mine, Helen Petrova. I met Helen in 1970 when I was traveling with the group in Leningrad in the Soviet Union. And after several other visits to the Soviet Union, Helen and I became very good friends. She opened her home to me. She shared her classroom. She introduced her friends to me. And most importantly, she told me what it was like living in a communist country. And in that way, she was a true ambassador to the whole concept of international living. And so when I had the opportunity with my granddaughter, who is here tonight, to go back to Leningrad again, and with Jessica, we were able to meet with Helen, and Helen introduced Jessica to her granddaughter. And so now I'd like to ask Jessica to stand, if she can get rid of the camera. But in the words of a very famous man, I want to say, Jessica, I pass the torch to you and to your generation to continue the spirit that you have heard about tonight, to continue the work of making the world a place of international understanding. God bless you. And to AWIU, American Women for International Understanding, I'm deeply grateful for this honor that you've given to me. It means a tremendous amount to all of us to know that there are organizations in the world carrying the torch. And so I thank you very much. What I have learned with the American Women and with the International Volunteer Organization, it has really changed my life. And thank you very much.
And Mary, they wanted you to know your Harley's right outside the door. They're waiting for you. It's almost more inspiration than one can take in one evening, isn't it? I mean, it really is incredible. I'd like to introduce Reverend Kenneth Lee Barker. The Reverend serves as the president and professor of ministry at the Meadville Lombard Theological School in Chicago, and he's been doing this since 2003. And Reverend Barker would like to make a few remarks, again, in your honor, and we will follow that with the closing song, America the Beautiful. Reverend?
Coming from Chicago as I do, I cannot help but raise the name of one of our favorite daughters, Jane Addams, the pioneer social worker, the women's rights advocate, the internationalist who was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1931. Jane Addams once said, "The good we secure for ourselves is precarious and uncertain until it is secured for all of us and incorporated into our common life." Such a simple sentiment, such a compelling truth. And yet we are reminded tonight that to challenge the social and political forces that secures the good for all people requires compassion, vision, persistence, and too very often, it requires courage. To be sure, these are serious times. Gloriously, they are also hopeful times. It's been said that the most telling question of a person's life is whether or not he or she is related to the infinite. And yet, a simple yes or no response to that question does not tell the full story about a person. The full story can only be known by how that person lives his or her life and how she or he lives it in this world. A connection to the infinite always shows up in a person and in a world. One who's related to the infinite cannot help but be committed to the joyful work of peacemaking. Peace is a stream whose waters can actually be touched. One who is grounded in that which is timeless cannot help but live a life that adds to the web of harmony between all people and all nations. We can feel it when that precious web surrounds us. One whose life is hitched to the stars cannot help but cater to the poor, to the distressed, to all who are marginalized in any way. And the balance of justice can actually be seen when it reaches its level. These are serious times, but these are also hopeful times. The infinite will always be there. And as we are reminded tonight and inspired tonight, that infinite will always propel us to our best selves. Across the lines of faith, over the borders of nations, between the practices of culture, people find their way to live out the connection to the infinite, showing us the new world that waits, where all are loved and embraced, where one and all have the freedom to soar, where the good is secured for all and incorporated into our common life. May it be so.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains, majesties above the fruited plain. America, God shed His grace on thee and crowned thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea, from sea to shining sea.
And once again, to all of the honorees this evening, and to AWIU, it keeps getting better and better. Congratulations for what you do. Thank you. And to all of you ladies, thank you. Thank you for all you're doing. And I promise you, as we all return to our homes and our families and our jobs over the next days and weeks and months and years, we will not forget you. Thank you for all you're doing. Thank you. Thank you. Travel safely.